Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to check out the Burnham Project on Substack. You can get Burnham Podcast. You can read my blogs and all sorts of cool stuff. It can even be sent right into your inbox. You can also watch us on Rumble and YouTube. We like Rumble better, but you can also watch us on YouTube. You can also find Burnham Podcast anywhere that you find your favorite podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click the little bells, the Rumble button, whatever the service has to offer. Click it, do that, follow us, tell people about us. Thank you very much. Burnham Podcast has a new advertising partner, introducing doggybagtreats.com. Tail wagging delights for your furry friends. They've got all types of collars and leashes. They've got all natural treats, things like minnows, chicken hearts, freeze-dried beef lung. That may not sound good to you, but your dog's gonna love it. They've got all natural baked goods, things for fresh breath. They've got peanut butter, banana oat, pumpkin, cheddar bacon, and other assorted treats. They've got pet care items like paw fume, oat soap, and paw balm. You can also make wholesale orders. Burnham Podcast listeners can get a discount by entering the code Burnham01 at checkout. Now back to the show. So if you're a regular to Burnham Podcast, you've heard Tango's voice before. When he first came on board, we shared a picture of him on social media, so you might or might not have seen his face. You're going to see his face and hear his voice in this episode because he's our guest tonight. Welcome to Burnham Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Burnham, and this is Tango.
I'm here.
Cool. You good? I'm good. We're good. The Phoenix Coyotes are good.
Yeah.
Phoenix Coyotes are not Arizona. They're Arizona now, right?
Arizona, yeah.
When did they switch from Phoenix to Arizona?
I think it was 14.
They were Phoenix, though, right?
Yeah.
When they first moved. Okay. That's about the time I kind of stopped following hockey.
Okay, so you saw the Miracle Run and everything.
No. When I was watching hockey, there was Winnipeg Jets. And then I never followed hockey when they became the Coyotes.
So that's 96.
Was it that long ago?
96 is when the Yotes moved.
Okay. See, I used to play NHL 95 on Sega Genesis. Dominated that game. But that'd been about the end of it then.
I mean, the Genesis.
Yeah. I was watching when Detroit, the Red Wings, had all the Avs on their team, and they won the Stanley Cup every year, and God bless them. That was fantastic.
Right.
So this is Tango, everybody. This is his face. You heard his voice a bunch of times, and we talk about him a lot.
I know. I'm here. I'm in person. It's weird. I can look over and see the red light, and I'm not used to
seeing that's normally you over there.
I know. I'm like, I should be there, but I feel like it was time. It was time we did this.
Yeah. And now you're the first person to ever be 2 out of 3 people on my podcast.
Oh, snap.
At the same time, brought the control, the mixer board over here on the table with us, and so you're doing it's 2 jobs at once.
It is, but it's fun. I love it. It's something that's just going off.
I hope you love it because we ain't making a ton of money for it.
Not yet. We will.
Yeah, one of these days with your expertise and maybe we'll get enough good guests on here. I was going to say your expertise and my talent, but I don't know if that's the case at all. So your expertise, you got to carry the team with production value.
Yeah, we can do that. Which we're doing that with Destination Hometown.
We got a bunch of stuff going on, right?
Yeah, we got some projects.
All these bases. You mentioned Destination Hometown. We talked about it a little bit in the last episode. You're the guest on the podcast, so I'm supposed to say, tell us about Destination Hometown.
You're the host of it.
I know, right? Yeah,
this makes it fun.
It is. It's our project that we've got involved in. I was one of the creators, I guess. I didn't get involved in it, but you're here with us taking it to the next level.
Well, yeah. You got to be able to I feel like this is one of those things you want to document, being able to go to that small town and tell those stories. So, this is one of those opportunities that you don't want to miss. And, you can hit a home run, and it's an easy home run.
Yeah.
With just documenting and showing the cool things in Rome, because there's so many people who are like, Rome's lame. It's not cool.
I know, yeah.
We ain't got a Sky Zone for my 5-year-old. But like, that's cool, but we got a ton of really, really cool things that make Rome special.
Yeah.
And like, we got people from Center, Alabama who come here and all
Center
over.
And Calhoun and Cedartown.
Yeah, like we're kind of a cool little hub.
Yeah. So if this is your first time ever listening to Burnham Podcast, we're talking about our side project. I guess this is sort of our side project, right? And then because we have day jobs.
Yeah.
And then so this is our side project, and this is Destination Hometown is our like alternate side project, additional side project. We travel around. Initially, it was about small businesses during COVID and raising awareness for them. But I ride this little bitty scooter through these little bitty towns, and we highlight cool parts and cool things that are going on. It's been just about the businesses so far, and then this time around, we decided to make it about an entire town. Right. And we covered our hometown of Rome, Georgia. We've done a little documentary series with it.
Right.
That'll be out on Netflix about the time this podcast comes out, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
2 days after this one.
Okay, yeah. So you're listening to this podcast. Go find it on YouTube. It's called Georgia Peach Ride Destination Hometown. It's on the same. If you're listening to this, especially if you're watching it on YouTube, you won't have to look far because it'll be on the same channel.
Right. Yeah.
Same channel you're finding this on. We'll be on Rumble too. On the same same channel, same page account. You'll find the Burnham Project on over there. The social medias.
So make sure to click the subscribe button, the little bell, so you get notified when all these things happen.
Yeah, because there's this series of, how many episodes did we end up with?
6 or 7.
I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
6 or 7 episodes. They're gonna come out one a week for a month and a half ish.
Yeah.
But then you get notified when another episode of Burnham Podcast comes out, and A and B when the next episode of Georgia Peach Ride uploads.
That's that 1B choo-choo train thing.
Yeah, right. Number 1 and number B.
But it's cool. So excited about these projects. We got a ton of things coming out soon, and we got some bigger announcements that we'll make later, but we can hint to them and tease them now.
Yeah, no, and we can talk about them. I don't want to give anybody's any ideas from us, but it's a lot of stuff, right? We've discovered through this process that we both love making documentary film.
Absolutely.
I've always thought they'd be really cool.
Just it's the fact that you can tell a story and not have to have like actors and have these gigantic budgets, and you can just go one man and a cameraman and tell stories that are incredible.
Yeah.
And even at the local level, like, there are incredible stories happening all day, every day, and you don't hear about them.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is nobody doing this? So I'm kind of like, I don't want to do this because I don't want somebody to do it before us.
Right? Knock it out and be the trailblazer there. I don't know. The idea of telling the story of people came to me when we were in Blue Ridge last year on the Peach Ride. And we stopped in a little place called the Bear Store, and they have all this bear stuff, all these bears that are carved out of wood, and these stuffed bears, and these like tin bears that are made out of car mufflers, and whatever, all this bear stuff. So I asked the people behind the counter, tell me the story about the Bear Store, and she tells me this crazy story about how they used to be a furniture store, and they started selling little bear trinkets, and people were like, "Give us more bear stuff," and before you know it, they were just called the Bear Store. And the sign out front still said, "Tomorrow's furniture today," is what it was. They were making new furniture that was made to look old. And but she told me this fantastic story about how the store had evolved, and sooner or later they were like, "Well, we're not even making furniture anymore. We're just selling these bears. Let's just change our name to what everybody calls us."
Bear Store.
She's telling me this story, and I'm like, "Man, we should be recording this and editing it and uploading it to YouTube and getting the story of these people." And that's what makes, like, before we were going to a place and we were taking a picture of the front of it and we were ordering a donut from the place and being like, all right, on to the next place. This gave us a chance to really dive into a place and into the people.
That's what it's about, is people.
Yeah.
And I think we're both good people persons. Like, we
I hope so.
we come from churches and backgrounds of that where we want to be able to reach people and show them some love. And and show them that they matter still, and that, like, these stories, what they got to say matters.
Yeah. Well, we sat with some people across the street over here that owned a restaurant, been in their family for 40 years, and they have kids that aren't 40 years old, so all their kids know is this life, and it's the story of these people's family and their footprint in their town.
Yeah, and how that was just wild because those were things I'd never heard about Schroeder's. The story and everything, I was like, I just thought it was a restaurant that had always been here. Never once thought, and it clicked in my head.
Always been here.
I was like, nah, this has just been here. It's a staple of Rome. It's Schroeder's.
Yeah.
No.
Getting to meet people like them, and I'd met them, but that was the first time, especially with all of them, gotten to sit down together and talk to them. You meet people you got to meet the chili dog people in LJ. Jenny Burnett, Josie Fowler, they're fantastic folks, and they take great care of us every time we're through there, which is fairly often if I can help it because it's fantastic. But you get to know their food's great, and that's awesome, but they're nice people, and you like to go see them and, and help them out however you can. And but that's what it becomes about. And
you built the relationship.
That's it.
And so now you want to help them and show them off. Yeah. So it's so cool. We got some other cool projects.
You texted me last night. Let's talk about this.
Oh yeah.
This is not a new concept, so we're not there's no spoilers or anything.
No.
We've seen this done before. You pitched a change my mind scenario.
I really feel like it goes into that whole I see people posting on Facebook all the time. What's there to do in Rome? There's nothing to do. What, why, who, what, when, and asking all these questions. I'm like, me and Danny can set up on a street somewhere and ask these questions to people and get their answers.
Right.
And be able to help them figure out some of these things. Because I feel like we're pretty well versed in Rome now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like these are some things we can talk to people about because there's a lot of questions out there that people just don't have the answers to. And
right.
They don't have the answers. They just make it up because that's human nature.
Right.
There's people doing people things.
Or they just assume there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Rome's boring. I got to move out. Well, please do.
Yeah, totally. Traffic here is terrible.
Yeah, right. All these rivers and bridges. And it's tough. It's tough.
I would like to find parking on Broad Street one day.
That'd be fantastic. I'm paying for a spot in the parking garage down the street that I use 3 times a month because I ride the scooter the rest of the time parking on the sidewalk. But, it is what it is.
It's the fact that the parking people just get you all day, every day.
Man, they do. I'll tell you, I have a different perspective, though, than a lot of people. And if you went to the University of North Georgia during the early 2000s, you might have the same perspective. I went in one time. I parked in front of the administrative building, didn't turn my truck off, left the door open. Right, I had to walk into the office and set a paper on the desk and come back out. No communication, nothing. So I jump out of the truck. Like I said, didn't even close the door. I ran 50 feet to the front door, opened the door, ran 5 more feet, put the paper up, turned back to the door. The public safety person was writing me a ticket, and I was like, no, but I got a ticket anyway. They were like, well, I'm not putting it back in the book.
Yeah, I'm already writing it. Sorry, you're getting it.
Yeah, they went ahead and finished it up, and I had to pay it. It was $5. It wasn't the end of the world, but it was the principle.
That's nonsense.
Give me 30 seconds. There was probably a parking spot for that exact purpose, but so I can't entirely blame them either. They were doing their job.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have anything like that besides the 2 or 3 warnings I've gotten out here.
You'll get them. They're pretty good though about warnings, or if you go up there and it's been 3 hours and 1 minute, and they're like, okay. I had a sign up once. I went in there. I had to go in there for an unrelated item, and I had a sign on the door that said, "We'll waive your ticket if you'll do a little dance," or something like that. So that's the kind of thing, they're, as far as parking enforcement goes, they're pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. We got to get a mute button for that. Cough button.
Yeah, cough button. I've been doing that all day, man. I've been in 9 Google meetings today and been like, hang on, let me die for a second. I'll be right back.
Can we go blame Chris Pyle for that?
I have to feel like we can. Chris Pyle is, as of this episode, I don't know if he went back to work today or not, but he went out of town with his wife for her birthday. They left on a Thursday. They drove back Sunday afternoon, both of them with the
coof.
the vid. Bless their hearts. Chris said they were both improving. He's getting better at a faster pace than her, but they are both improving. So he was I hadn't talked to him today. He was contemplating going back to work today.
Okay.
So that's how much better he felt. He might have milked one more day out of it. So we'll see.
I kind of miss the old days where it's like, if you get it, you're out for 2 weeks, even if like you feel great.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
That was so. I didn't get to experience any of that.
Well, that happened to me. Like Jessica got COVID in, I don't know, I think it was August, I guess, like first week of August, because it was the second day of school that year when I was working, and they sent me home for 2 weeks. I was fine. I didn't get COVID for like a year and a half later. But I had to go sit home. Jessica went back to work before I did. She was really sick for a day and a half, and then she was kind of sick for a couple days. And she went back to work. And then at one point, so many people in her nursing home had COVID, they were like, okay, if you're positive but you feel okay, come to work. And they were like, okay, cool.
What?
So Jessica picked up all kinds of shifts because she had it again later on and like never even slowed down.
Oh,
so she was picking up shifts from people who we made out quite well financially during COVID. But I don't know if that's something we should laugh about on a podcast now. I think looking back, we can.
Absolutely. Like back then, no, you can't. Yes, frowned
right.
upon.
We still like still early enough when Jessica got it. We were like, shoot, is she gonna die? Like, how bad is this?
Oh, that was the beginnings.
Yeah, pretty early on.
Look, we start school back in August, so that was like 4 months after it hit.
Yeah.
And it was like, the world's falling down around us.
Yeah, there's still some doubts. But once she pulled through, I was like, wait a minute. Maybe this is not what they've been telling us.
Ooh, what?
It was a little bit. We're going to get booted off of YouTube for this. Watch Burnham Podcast on Rumble. If you're following on YouTube at this point, we'll still be on Rumble. And worst case, we'll start uploading videos to Substack, and you can find us there.
Yeah. Rumble, we like them better.
We do like Rumble better. Their whole structure. Man, I had a great experience with them. Customer service issue the other day. They responded to a person who I feel like was like the nuance of the email, felt like a real person, responded to a request I made within half an hour.
What?
Yeah. Like if you look at Facebook, you're never getting a response from Facebook ever. You're probably not going to get one from YouTube.
No, YouTube
unless it's them
forever.
Going strike two. Okay.
You got to have lawyers and things to get YouTube to do anything.
Right.
And it's like, but I just want to know. Tell me things. Mm-hmm. Rumble's all transparent, so they tell you everything up front.
They were great. They were fantastic. It was just an issue of, what was it? We were trying to monetize a video, it just wouldn't like click. It wouldn't set in, and turned out the setting was wrong on our end.
Yeah, that's my bad.
But they were like, hey, this is the issue. Let us know if we can do anything else for you. This is how to fix it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool.
Done.
Yeah.
Dunzo. Easy peasy.
Love them. Love them. And they're free speech advocates, too. They're not going to strike you because you say COVID was a lie. Or, hypothetically.
It was overhyped.
COVID was not a lie. COVID was a real thing. I believe that really happened. When I finally did get it, I felt different from any other sick I'd ever been. So there's that. I feel like it was a thing, but it wasn't. Like I was thinking about going to jiu-jitsu while I had it. Before I tested, I was like, I felt pretty sick. And I was like, I've trained sicker than this before.
I mean, Jordan played with the flu, but
dropped 36 on him.
Yeah, that was one of his best performances.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I don't feel like jiu-jitsu would have been the same for me.
No. Getting choked out probably ain't gonna help.
Strangled by some kid half my age while I already couldn't breathe. It would be great. But yeah, I don't know. It was. Yeah. Rumble's not going to kick us off for any of this.
No.
So we'll still be there. We're just going to do it. We got to contact Rumble about an endorsement deal now. I think they owe us.
Absolutely.
Probably $1.50 based on the size of our audience, but that's not the point.
Plus our 18 cents we got in the bank.
Yeah, we're rolling rolling up the tab monetarily
with our dozens
and dozens. Chris Pyle says couples and couples.
That I like that more because it sounds better.
I don't know. I joke about this sometimes about how many listeners we have or whatever, and I worry that people are like, man, they must only have like 8 or 9.
But that's okay. We love you guys.
Oh man, I love each and every one. Like I might have told you before. I was talking to somebody the other day about checking the metrics on the podcast, and you'll see that it's 106 on whatever platform, and you look back a minute later and it says 107, and you're like, I wonder who that person was.
Who was that?
What are they doing now? Are they out in the field listening to me on their earbuds, picking the corn, or are they driving a big rig somewhere? I wonder who that person is.
Those are the things that I sit there and I'm like, I wonder who's gonna watch this. I am, but like, at where are they watching from? Like, I feel like I can pull those metrics somewhere on like how many laptops, how many TVs, how many audio listens.
You can. Our old host was pretty good about those numbers. I'm not even going to say their name. You can dig them up. That's because that's where we used to be.
Because they don't exist.
Well, they don't exist for me. And actually, they don't. They got bought out. But they were actively suppressing our podcast. So we're not there anymore. But they had fantastic metrics as far as what you could look at. You could look at countries, provinces or states, however they're divided, and then down to cities and see how many people in each place were listening.
I feel like this weekend now, while I got some downtime, I'm going to go look it up.
Yeah,
and start digging in.
You can go back. It turns out, because I wondered the other day, I was like, I wonder if I can still log into that, and I can. We just can't produce any more content.
No, I meant like our current ones.
Oh, I'll show you where that's at too.
Oh, sweet. This is the one thing I don't know. My technical skills don't go as far as like marketing research. We have to have a guy for that.
That's our next guy, right? We're working on a social media guy, and then we'll be working on a marketing and a research guy.
Which I think we got a marketing guy.
I think
if we can ever get him to commit.
That's the key, right? Like, we're talking about building, one of our projects is a podcasting network of sorts. And we're talking about bringing people in to do their own podcast all under the same umbrella. But then you're talking about a level of commitment, right? When you're like, I got to do that every week. Or, I said I'd do it every day. Now I got to do this every day, and it's fun for the first few times, and it should still be fun, but you realize that there's work involved too, and there's prep and planning, and
your hobby and passion now becomes a job. And it's a little bit harder. This is what I've started to realize with this. I'm like, okay, we got a schedule. We're doing this, and even on Destination Hometown, like, I learned more on that project than I did in any other project I've done, because it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, that's not how this works. Okay, let's go back to the drawing board and figure this out. Okay, that'll work.
Right. That's a good idea you got going there.
The one ear. Yeah. We got to get new ears.
Yeah, all good.
I think I paid like $10 on Amazon for these. So
some of these unclaimed baggage headphones like we were talking about.
No, they weren't unclaimed. They were brand new, but I feel like I could better ones from unclaimed baggage.
Maybe I'm sure you can. I got some really nice ones there one time for like $8. But, we started, the first episode of Burnham Podcast was on some $13 plug and play microphones from Amazon.
See?
So like just USB, we put them right in the laptop and rocked and rolled.
That's how this starts, and this is why we want to build that network, because like you start as a fun hobby, and you're like, okay, cool. I want to tell some stories. I want to be able to tell this.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do a thing, show some people I know something, and then you're like, okay, let's put some value in it and some more value, and then you get a guy who reaches out to you who's like, hey man, let me help you out. Let's add some more to this.
Yeah. Well, and we're adding more all the time. I mean, it's, like I said, we're bringing in a social media guy. We're going to bring in a marketing guy. And that's to say that God is blessing us with people that can do these things.
Man, the people.
Because it wasn't, 6 months ago, maybe a little more, I was doing this by myself. And even when I had guests on, I had a file, and whatever we recorded was what it was. Good, bad, or otherwise. Whether or not there was a crackle in the microphone or any of that, I didn't know. I just never edited an episode, not one time ever.
And now you don't have to do it. Now you just get to hop up here and talk. And
by the time this comes out, you guys won't even be able to hear the air conditioner blowing over our head. Tango zaps it all out of there.
So how did you come up with the name Tango for me? I think we've talked about this.
I asked you when you first contacted me. I was doing the podcast by myself. I had my buddy Sam Traylor in. We recorded an entire episode. It was like an hour and a half long, and then I lost it. It was just gone in cyberspace somewhere. I eventually found it, was able to upload it. But in the meantime, you reached out to me for the second time. You reached out to me once before, and I was like, oh, I don't know about all that. Whatever. So the second time when I put on Facebook, I was like, hey, I had an episode for you guys today, but I lost it. Still working on it, whatever. You contacted me, and you were like, hey, let me do this for you.
Let me help.
I was like, okay, cool. And in that, I asked you at one point, I said, do you want to go by your name on the air, or do you want a cool nickname? And you were like, oh, cool nickname all the way.
All the way.
So the NATO phonetic alphabet, T is Tango. So that's where that comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd heard it, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I was like, the more I hear it, Tango, I'm like, I'm going to embrace that now. At first, I was like, this is weird. I'm just T.
People, yeah, right, yeah, just T. T is for Tango. But when I talk to people about the show, you're just Tango now. Right? People are like, hey, Tango this or Tango that. And I'm like, yeah, Tango this and that.
I love it.
And I don't bother to be like, well, his real name is.
I don't need to have a real name.
But like Pyle and Andrew know your name, but when we talk about you, it's still Tango.
It's Tango. Yeah. It's hilarious. I'm going to put that on all my flight cases now, Tango. With our cool Burnham Podcast stickers.
Does that make you suspicious, though, if you walk through the airport with one of these cases that says Tango on the side?
Maybe.
But I mean, I think we're suspicious in the airport anyway. That's just kind of how it is these days.
I mean, you can't be a 6 foot tall dude walking through an airport with Pelican cases massive cases.
Looks sketchy. Yeah.
Yeah, you look real sketch real quick.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
But
might as well write Tango on your stuff. Then.
I might as well. Yeah. But it's the coolest thing because you can get in the football games and anything for free if you carry a Pelican case with you.
Just go with the
boop in.
They're like, oh, they must be here. They're doing something important, right? Let them in.
It's an empty case. We wanted free tickets.
Movie theaters and football games and
everything.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah. There's one right there.
There is. That one's not the cool Pelican cases that we got.
No, it's not. But it's the podcast case.
That is our podcast too.
All of our gear in it. So you reached out to me and you already had this vast knowledge base and all this cool equipment. This was not your first foray into the audio visual production world.
No, it was not.
How did you get into that?
Oh, okay. So I feel like it was a good question. I feel like I should have had that answer already ready. So I got in when we were at church together, and I was probably 11 or 12. And I got in and I started learning how to do sound.
Yeah.
And I didn't even do sound like during the main services. It was like a Sunday night service when I started learning. And then I slowly picked up more and more. And then by 2016-ish, a little after I graduated high school, like I had acquired a lot of knowledge and spent some time building up. And I was like, okay, we got the new pastor. We got Pastor Ron, and he wanted to bring us up a little bit. And I was like, okay, I'm down for this. So we went from just having a sound mixer to now we got computers with screens and projectors, and it was wild. I loved it. And then we added lights to it, which is a whole fun gig that I love. And then I really didn't step up into like camera stuff and live streaming and producing content until like a little before COVID.
Yeah.
And like that's when like everybody started live streaming. So I kind of got thrown into the deep end real quick and figure out. I was like, oh, I don't know how to build all this. Well, the world's about to shut down.
Oh, yeah, it was time then, right?
We got to turn a church into a studio.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody was having to do.
Yeah, everybody was doing it.
Government said no church. And so that was a big one that like I spent a lot of time learning on like what shots I want, what shots I don't, how to light it, how to do everything. And now it's leading up to this, and I've done little side projects, but like I think I made a post recently about a movie I was part of.
Tell us about it.
17 Letters. So cool. It's Brian Stevens This is his second movie with me. His first one was Broken Chain.
I didn't know there was another one.
Oh, yeah, there's a first one. I think I'm actually playing a TMZ reporter in that one. You see
you're
me
in the movie.
I'm in that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were the executive producer for 17 Letters, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's I provided all the gear. I did a lot of the grunt work for him. I did a lot of the lighting, but it was really cool. But 17 Letters, I was really happy about because like it's a cool story. I think we're gonna get Brian on. Yeah,
absolutely.
He's
Come on, Brian.
soon.
Let's talk about it.
Synopsis of the story. Big city girl and her mom moved back for the summer to her mom's like OG home.
OG.
Yeah, the original home where she grew up in like middle of Nowheresville, Georgia.
Okay. Otherwise known as Cedartown, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much Cedartown. And there's a whole story. The letters come from she's staying in her mom's old room at her dad's house. Her dad's the judge of the whole town. So really cool, really small town. But she finds all these letters from this mysterious guy named Crash. And she figures out that's her dad. And they were told that her dad was no longer in the picture.
Oh.
And there's some stuff that leads up and she finds him and meets him. And it's this amazing story. I was really happy with it. And it's really moving, but it's got some good messages in it too.
Yeah.
So got to tell those good Christian stories. But it's not just Christian, it's just good stories. I don't like to use that term, Christian stories.
Yeah, because Christian stories are the ones we find in the Bible, right?
Right. Well, I feel like those are biblical events, not necessarily stories.
Yeah.
To me, a story is like something you can kind of fabricate and make up a little bit. And
right, yeah.
I feel like biblically, like those events are pretty accurate.
Yeah, we can't add our own things to the Bible.
No. So like, yeah.
I'm with you. People ask if this is a Christian podcast all the time.
No.
We talk about it, and I go, well, is a podcast Christian, or are there Christians on the podcast? It's at the end of the day, it's like a digital file, and then it's,
We're a group of guys who happen to be Christians and believe in God and the faith, and we want to tell good things.
Well, I tell people it's faith based. Like the idea is faith based, and it all kind of comes from there. But yeah, so you tell these stories, and you can tell a Christian story, I suppose.
Well, yeah,
as long as you're not going, this is from the Bible. Trust me.
Right. Trust me, bro. Is my source.
Right. Yeah.
Noah got aided by a whale.
Jonah. That was Jonah.
Yeah. Jonah, you're right.
People do this. I don't know. Why do we do that? Why do we talk about Jonah's ark and Noah and the whale? Like, you've heard this before. People do this.
You just mixed them up again, too.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But we ask, we're like, what about Jonah's ark? We're like, no, bro, that's Noah's ark.
Right.
Or vice versa.
Right.
Noah and the whale.
Because those are like the two pivotal figures that everybody and their mama knows. Those are the two stories.
Those are the VBS stories, right?
Those are your milk, your bread and milk stories that you tell children all day, every day. That's in your little.
Which is just, I had a turning point on the story of Noah's Ark when we went to Epworth by the Sea for Global summer. Maybe the last summer I went to Global with the Cassville youth, but that was the theme that year. We were building the ark, right? Get everybody you can in the ark. We're building this ark, and they had some of us as adults play people trying to get on the ark as the rain was coming, and we were like up there in the front. We're like beating on the side of the ark, like, let us in. And I started thinking, like, man, to be there in that time, and like the water is raining and the water's rising, and you're like, I'm gonna drown if you don't let me on this boat. And that became like, I was like, holy smokes. Then I realized I needed to keep beating on the side of the ark to sell the story to everybody watching.
You had that epiphany in action.
I was like, holy smoke, people did this. This was a real thing. So definitely Noah's Ark. I can keep up with that because of that now.
Man, you just made me think of that. I'm like, that's legit. Like, those people were like, oh, we thought this crazy guy was just building this massive boat in the middle of Nowheresville. Just build a boat. He's crazy old Noah, whatever.
Yeah.
Please, Mr. Noah, let me on your
Oh,
boat.
no, then it started raining, right? Yeah. No, it becomes life and death. But I did have that moment, and I was like, oh my goodness, this happened. This was a real thing. So I think about that now, and like all the times when I was little, and then we were at BBS, and they were like, look at the little book with the pop outs of Noah's Ark. And I look at that now and I go, wow, maybe that's not one we teach the kids right off the bat.
Right.
Ease them into that as they're a little more ready for mass destruction and the death of everybody except for 8 people on Earth.
Right. But even like the story of Jonah isn't like so child friendly when you dig into it. It's like homie was trying to run away from everything.
Well, he was avoiding going to Nineveh, and like we're talking about the Assyrians who were famous for flaying people.
Yeah.
You know, Jonah didn't want to go. I don't blame him.
I don't want to go mess with folks who are going to tear me apart. No, I don't want to go.
So then he goes and gets swallowed by the giant fish instead.
Yeah, way to get thrown overboard.
Pretty terrifying if you're a little kid and your parents are like, let's go to the beach. I'm like, nah.
That's triggering.
Start thinking about what might I be running from in my life before I go to the beach.
That's got to put some fear of like watering kids. And I'm like,
worse than Jaws. It's in the Bible. That really happened. You know?
Right. Some of those fish still exist, which is kind of scary.
It is. There's a megalodon out there somewhere, right?
Oh, for sure. There's got to be.
God, the ocean is so big. It's so big. There's got to be.
It's got to be some critters down there that we don't know anything about. But like,
man, I'm never going to the beach again.
I'm going this weekend, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna avoid the water. I'm gonna stay up at Margaritaville.
Is there still one of those there?
I
haven't been. I've been to Savannah. It's been a long time. No, I haven't been that long. It's only been a couple of years. We ate at a really nice Greek place.
Ooh.
On River Street. It takes forever to drive down River Street. You ever driven down River Street?
Yeah.
It's a cobblestone road, and it's the worst mile and a half of your life. It takes 2 hours. Your car will fall apart. But,
yeah, it just beats everything out of you. You're like,
It's cool, though. It's such a cool experience to sit there and watch the ships and things come in.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's been forever since I've been down there, so I'm not sure. But I'm going this weekend, so we'll see.
I'm just saying, we lost Jimmy Buffett recently.
I know. It's this. That was rough.
yeah, that's tough. But yeah, if you're gonna stop by Margaritaville, I guess now's the appropriate time to do that.
Right. To the man,
is what it is.
The legend.
I wouldn't even bring up Jimmy Buffett on my podcast except for Mike Garrett, and I talk about Mike. I know Mike's never gonna listen to this. Mike was the pastor at Dykes Creek forever.
Right.
Huge Jimmy Buffett fan. So, like, when I was going to that church and I was 20, 25, I was like, okay, Preacher Mike likes it. It must be okay. Yeah. Obviously, he had some of his songs that were just out of bounds, and he would listen to them. But, you know, the ones about laying in a hammock and the wind blowing in your face, like, okay, all right.
It's Jack Johnson vibes.
Yeah.
Jack Johnson is Jimmy Buffett 2.0.
Or... yeah,
one of them.
That's probably true.
Laying in a hammock, eating banana pancakes.
Right, on the guitar. And
Dude, that would be so nice.
I thought today, man, it was, I don't know, not scorching hot when I went outside after
I
wrapped up
feels
today.
good.
And I was like, oh, it's so nice. It's the best time of year. It's September the 20th as we're recording this, and Northwest Georgia, especially in the shade. It was so nice.
There was no shade in July when we filmed,
there
dude.
wasn't. We're filming the Peach
That was
Ride, and it's
rough.
1,000,000 degrees. We'd never done it so late before, I guess. I think we did it the first week in June. We did it first week of June last year, and then we did it 4th of July week this year.
Which was our mistake.
Was so
we
hot.
struggled.
We did. It was tough. And we didn't even do like those grind rides we've done before where we're doing 100 miles a day, which is not so awful in a car, but at 30 miles an hour on a scooter, it's pretty terrible.
With a helmet and everything, and you're like, okay, this sucks. Why did he make me drive 5 minutes off the road? And
well, we would drive an extra 5 minutes to get one picture and then come back. But like in the meantime, we were going up like 5:15 between LJ and Blue Ridge. And you have no idea all the things that come off one of those 18-wheelers when they blow past you at 65 miles an hour and you're doing 30. And just the like debris field that follows them, and like all the little pebbles pinging off your helmet and stuff. And wind that comes off, and you're like, well, this is the end of me. And it's so much fun, though.
Dude, those are the shots I want to go get with you one day.
My favorite, and they dropped the ball. One of my favorite moments was on the first ride. We were between, I don't know, Thomasville and Moultrie, maybe. I don't remember. We were between two little tiny places down there. And I'm putting along at 30 miles an hour on that garbage scooter we did the first ride with. And number one, this giant combine comes by because we're just in like tobacco fields.
You're in Nowheresville, Georgia.
So there's just farm equipment, and this giant tractor comes by with like these blades just dangling on the front of it. And I was like way over on the side of the road. And then even in that same run, I got passed by a couple of guys on like choppers, like really nice motorcycles, big, and they pull up next to me and they're like, yeah. And then they just hammer down and smoked us. But my buddies and my brother, who I really hold the grudge against, didn't bother to get a picture of it. Cool moment. But
I thought you were going to tell the one about the alligator in the road or something.
The dead alligator?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on the same run. That was over closer to Waycross and down in the Okefenokee, just dead alligator on the side of the road.
The giant swamp lizard.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah, they were there. And then they were we saw a couple around Waycross too, which is funny because their high school mascot there is the Gators.
I didn't know they were up that far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, Waycross is not like super far north, but it's not like right on the state line either.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was like,
Folkston, Waycross is basically, Folkston is basically in the swamp. Like it's almost in Florida, really.
Okay.
There are people everybody that works in Folkston lives in Jacksonville, so it's one of those kind of things.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
Shoot, we were talking about something. We went down some rabbit holes.
We've been chasing the rabbits.
I think you asked me how I was getting into this.
Into the AV, yeah.
Yeah.
So 17 letters, I think, is where we were.
Yeah. So I helped produce that with my media company, which at the time is now defunct. It was Lost Mountain Media. Mm-hmm. And I found out, I was like, okay, cool. There's a mega production company in Georgia named Lost Mountain Media. So I was like, nah, I'm going to change my name.
I'm going to stop before I get the cease and desist.
I know. And I was like, I'm a tiny fish. Like, I've just done weddings and some other things, but I'm not going to. I had a website and everything, so now I'm rebuilding.
Right.
And so I rebranded everything Coyote Media, which is funny because I was like, hey, Brian, you're going to have to change logos in there and take some things out because that's not me anymore.
That's why we have post-production, man. Go back and right all the wrongs.
And, Coyote Media is like a super cool thing to me. Mm-hmm. And I know I've told you this story, but like not everybody knows.
Tell it. This is what we're
It's more than just the Arizona Coyotes. That was the love. Like, I loved them before I came up with this idea, but they were not the reason for it. So it's wild. So, 21, I took a trip out to Vegas. Mm-hmm. Me and my best friend, John Briggs, we went out there.
Johnny B, that's who we need on.
Oh yeah, we need to bring him in. But yeah, I was going through some weird, dark, rough time and it wasn't the best. So I had my moments. But really what had happened was, we had been out all day adventuring and we got back to the hotel, grabbed food, and I was like, I just don't feel like sleeping. And it's probably midnight 30. And I was like, look over, John's passed out. And I was like, cool. Then I see the keys right beside him and I was like, all right, cool. Grab car keys. Didn't tell anybody where I was going, what I was doing, nothing. Nobody knew where I was. And I just started driving. And drove for like 2 hours outside of the desert in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the night. And then I just pulled over. And I was like, cool. What do I do now? All right, cool. As soon as I get out of my car, I hear something ruffling around me somewhere, and I'm like, okay, what is that? What is that? Am I going to die? Is it a red El Burro? Is
dark
it
in the desert, right? It was Chupacabra.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, cool. Something's going to get me. And out walks this massive freaking wolf-sized coyote, the biggest coyote I've ever seen. Which
their coyotes are different than ours.
They are.
Ours are like cats.
Ours are like itty bitty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can punt one of ours. This guy, there was no fighting him. I was like, okay, cool. You're a little scary, friend. And I was like, okay, I'm going to avoid you, but I'm going to watch you. So I start just walking out, wandering into the desert just to find some peace and think about some things. And I came across this little landing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to set up here and just sat there. I had no idea where I was, and then just sat there and watched the sunrise. And then on my way back, I was like, I'm not really sure where I parked or where I left a car. I'm not sure where I am. And out comes little coyote, big old honking furry friend. And I was like, okay, maybe he's friendly. I'm going to follow him. So I follow him all the way back to the car. And I was like, okay, this has got to be one of those signs of something. And so that holds a special place in my heart. And so when I had the rebrand, I was like, I want to pick something special to me that nobody else is going to have or have a reason for.
Yeah.
And like, I get questions all the time from John and Press. They're like, why'd you pick Coyote Media? And I was like, you don't know the story. Well, I guess now the story's out.
The story's out now, right? It's on Burnham Podcast.
There's some critters out there that I was like, oh, this guy's cool. I'm going to follow him.
A friendly desert coyote. Don't try that at home, kids. This is
please don't leave your hotel in the middle of the desert and drive out
and trust a coyote to help you find your car. I've seen enough of those Warner Brothers cartoons to know the coyote can't be trusted.
No. He's got rockets and everything and dynamite, and he still can't catch that bird. But I'll by golly, George, he'll catch me in my little red Toyota Civic.
Oh man, yeah. No, I'm not. More power to you, bro. If you want to go out there and hang out with a coyote.
I think that's part of the whole "don't die" thing on my arm.
Right. There's a tattoo on your arm that says "don't die."
Yeah, there's supposed to be a nice reminder. Hey, don't do crazy things like wander off into the desert in the middle of the night and not tell people.
Was it dark and you just didn't see it, or did you not have the tattoo at that point?
No, I've had this. When did I get this? About the third or fourth car accident, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to like hunker down and figure this thing out and not kill myself.
That's the worst. Third or fourth car accident.
Yeah, in the span of 2 years, I had murdered some cars.
I know you had. I knew about the one, the expedition. That was a thing.
I think I'm on expedition number 4. So
how long you figure you got left before you're on expedition number 5?
Expedition 4 has lasted me since 2017.
Okay, maybe you got it figured out now.
I had to buy a tank, which the expeditions are freaking tanks. If you're going to buy a car for a teenage driver, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's solid. They're safe. You can obliterate it against a tree and you're going to walk out.
Not sponsored by Ford. This is not a paid endorsement.
No. But I will tell you, they are fantastic cars.
They are. They're great.
And like the first one wasn't even mine. The 3 of them haven't been mine. They were all Dad's.
You'll never drive my expedition, ever.
The first one was a blue one. It was a 2005. Totaled it.
Mm-hmm.
Smacked some trees because I was like, oh, we got Yee AT tires on it. I went into a little ditch.
Right.
And I couldn't pull out of the ditch, and it just went from little ditch into a drop off, and I smacked some trees going real fast. And I was like, okay, cool. Crawl out the window. We're fine. Those are some sirens.
I know. I thought I heard it.
I don't know where they're at. But
the fire station's right here behind us, so I hear them all day. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just totally forgot where we were.
Well, it's a block that way, but we're still close enough. We hear sirens quite a bit here.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway. so we start talking about having a wreck and we're hearing sirens.
I know. It's like, what did I do? What did I do? I didn't do nothing this time. I'm parked back there. Don't. I can't see my car through Nathan's fence.
I think the fence is fantastic. The fence is going down. They're putting the walkway in back there. It's very exciting.
That's exciting.
We'll have street level access to our church. Which I'm fired up about.
Dude, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Because that means more accessibility for more people.
Man, that's what we're on the second floor in the church that we're in now. It's not a church building. It's just a space that we rent. And I guess so it is a church building. That's not what it was intended for. And it's not super ideal, but we don't have street level access. Street level, we're on street level in the back, but there's like a courtyard below us. So you can't just walk back there. So we're getting the gap spanned.
Which is gnarly.
Which is great, man, because I got like 3 families that are like, hey, we'll come to your church, but we can't get grandma up the stairs. Okay.
Okay. We can work with that.
Making it happen.
We're making it happen, which is gnarly. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Love to see you succeed.
Thank you, man. Scott, God blessing us. We're trying to be faithful here and do the right things, and He's taking care of us. So we're happy.
Oh, I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit. Like, so I haven't been in church for a couple of years. Left church.
Bad experience with people.
Yeah, some bad experiences. But coming back to yours, I was kind of like, oh, this is real church. And since then, I've had some time to kind of grow and mature out of some of the ways I was, where I was like set on mega church world.
Yeah.
That's where I was. That's what I wanted to do. And I was like, I want production cameras and lights and fog everywhere. And I want guitars blaring and the speakers on speakers.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, let's strip it all back. Let's go back to being real quick. Cause
that's what we're trying to do here, man. I tell people it's just church.
And
that's it. It's just church.
Like, there's a part of me that still wants that and yearns for that giant production from like, just, I love to see it in action, and it looks like this gorgeous movie, and it's like beautiful and cinematic and like all these things, but it's like, it feels fake and manufactured half the time.
Is. When you do those things, it's fake.
And I know it is because I did it. We did that a lot of Sundays where we put on a production.
Yeah. Well, and if you're going to video and live stream, especially your church service, it should be excellent.
Right.
I learned that from Ron Kanzler. It's one of the things he taught me, doing things with excellence. It should be the best thing you can possibly do. But there's a fine line between making sure the lighting is right and like having mega lighting.
Well, not even just that, to where you got a guy who's yelling at you, like yelling at your lead singers, hey, you're going to have to move 4 steps, and taping down, like, here's a box where you can walk in. Like,
yeah.
I was that guy who taped out a box on the floor and said, you cannot leave this box. Sorry, pastor. I know you want to talk to people and do things, but no. And now I'm like, ooh, why did I do that?
Well, but looking back, like, I was in youth ministry for 10, 12 years, however long time. Looking back, I regret so many things about what we did. And not even like, I felt like we gave you guys a genuine like encounter with God as far as when we had worship, right? And it looked like church, right? We had some songs, and then we had a message on Wednesday nights, but we did so many other things that were not, I don't know, man. It was just a waste of time.
It didn't feel beneficial. And now, like, I'm even looking back and I'm like, that was cool, but like, what did that do for us, really? Like,
yeah.
And
I look back at my time in teaching and public education a lot of the same way, and I think about how different I was after I had kids, and how different my outlook was on a lot of things youth related after I had kids, and the way that I would interact with kids and what I would expect from them. And I go, well, man, that changed my mind. And if I'd had kids those first 8 years I was doing youth ministry, like, it might have been a lot different.
I can vividly remember like the change from like pre-married Danny to married with Ayla Danny, and I was like, this is a whole separate cat. What happened?
It had to be, man.
It was a light switch that just flipped, and I was like, we're not playing NASCAR warming the tires up in the church van anymore.
Yeah.
He's being safe.
You're telling on me now. The statute of limitations is up on that. Holy smokes. Yeah, pulling a trailer and everything, right? Let's run over all the bumps.
Right. That's no more a thing. And I'm like, I'm starting to hit those points without the kids. And I'm like, oh, my frontal cortex finally developed.
It came around, right? Yeah. No, it just, we did things that were highly entertaining.
It was a lot of entertaining.
Yeah.
And like, I get it, youth ministry, like, you kind of got to play this line of like,
you're managing attention spans and things. And
I can't think of being a youth pastor now, because like, that's got to be the roughest thing, because you got the TikTok generation now who's like on a 15, 30-second timeline.
That's it.
And it's like, that's all you can keep them for. And it's like, how do you preach the gospel and show them Jesus in 30 seconds or under?
We don't, our bylaws, our forms of unity here at our church says we won't have that. Like, we just won't have youth ministry. Everybody just goes to church, and there's discipleship and things that I have to do as pastor and our other elders have to do, and things that fathers and sons are supposed to do, families and things like that. And there are people who don't have dads at home, and we've got, that's accounted for too, because those are the people that Scripture spells out that we're supposed to be helping. But if you get into youth ministry, it's hard to get out of it.
Right. Because
as a church, I mean.
You're stuck kind of coddling some children and not letting them get what they really need. And you're like kind of just like being a helicopter parent or whatever. And you're like, my son doesn't need to learn that. We're going to talk about this. No, we're not.
Yeah.
I'm pulling him out for that week.
Right.
No, your son needs to learn about why you shouldn't have sex before marriage. Like, we're gonna talk about these things.
Right.
Why you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And if you're gonna do youth ministry, like, that's what it should be.
Right.
But we're youth ministry is so like pizza and extreme dodgeball, as my friend Jacob Travis says, Not everybody. There's some guys out there that do it right, but we do these things where we have these concerts and these events and this fun stuff, and there's nothing wrong with having fun, but that becomes the focal point. And then kids graduate from youth group, and if we see them again, we don't see them until they're 30.
And they're like, I don't know. I know Jonah built a boat. Right. That's where this comes from. Yeah. It's that coddling where it's like, okay, well, what did you really learn in youth group today? Oh no, we played dodgeball and I hit Sally Lou in the face.
Yeah. Please don't hit Sally Lou in the face. But yeah, that's what we're up against. And then we're like, why don't they come to big church? Well, y'all ain't playing dodgeball in there.
They didn't learn how to like manage their attention span and say, okay, there's a time to be reverent and attentive and be in the Scripture and do what we're supposed to do.
That's tough stuff, man.
And I'm saying all this, and I'm like, man, look, I gotta get back on that ride too. Yeah, I fall behind like everybody does.
Everybody does. It's so easy to not go for a week, and then it's been a month, and then it's been 6 months,
and now it's been like, well, I come hang out with you all the time, and this has really helped kind of build that back. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of trust some. Like, there's some
church hurt is a thing, man. It's a real thing, and it's hard. The church should be the place that you go where you're just not going to get hurt. Not convicted. That's different. We should all get convicted, but to get hurt by something somebody does that harms our trust of them, church, it shouldn't happen there.
No.
And when it does, well, man, this is church.
This is the one place that it wasn't supposed to ever happen, and now it's happened, and it's like, well, where the flip-flop do I go? Yeah. What do I do now?
If you can't trust the church.
And unfortunately, that's like a lot of churches nowadays that have been corrupted and turned into corporations almost. Yeah. And it's like, I can't trust that. Like, I don't want to put faith in that. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
And yeah, it's just, there's an honesty with your church, and it felt really refreshing. So I'm a brag on you a little bit. I know you don't like it, but
let's brag on God. How about that?
It is all a God thing, because you guys got together during COVID, and created a saying from the world's falling.
Yeah. It was a tough time to, like, I had been in ministry forever, and it was my first time being a pastor. They were like, "Hey, you're our guy." What? I'm not. I promise.
I promise I'm not.
But yeah, it's, I don't know, not an opportune or ideal time to become a pastor, but it's been great.
I don't think there's ever like an opportune time.
Definitely
when
not.
Somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I definitely want to be a pastor."
Yeah, I'm 100% ready now. Like,
Yeah.
I hope not.
That's the guy you don't trust. It's
Yeah.
the guy who's like, "Oh yeah, I want to be a pastor. I'm going to be a pastor
Got
now."
all the answers, everything's figured out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, friend. No.
Lord help us.
I'm going to need you to go through some struggles and feel some.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
So what's the next steps for the church? Like where are we going next?
We've got to expand. We're in a space now where we got one little room in this building, and we're limited by the size of these walls right now as far as what we can do in terms of programs and other things, but we've got to fill the room up first. Right. We're bringing in new families,
which is
young families. I had a really young family in here yesterday talking about possibly joining the church. It was fantastic. We've got to add people, and we've got to be faithful about gathering and meeting, and we've got plans, man. We've got our vision long-term, 30, 50, 100 years from now, is to have an orphanage and a hospital and a nursing home and a Bible college and all these things, and we're in one room right now. So, like, that's where our vision is, and next is the best question, right? But for now, it's being faithful and being good stewards of what we've been blessed with so far. But yeah, people are starting to find us. They're starting to, the name is getting out into the community, and there's a church that meets in that place on Broad Street, and the sign out front. We didn't have a sign here for several months, but it's gone a long way.
Which I do. I'm gonna also brag on you. Where'd you come up with Rome Reformed Church?
Man, it was the first time we met as a church. Like, this is our church. We hadn't planned on being a church when we started meeting during COVID, and we were meeting in a bar at the time. But when we decided to all gather together and be a church, was at the Courtyard Marriott across the river over here, and we had reserved the room for that Sunday, and they called me on like Thursday or Friday and said, "Hey, we got to put a sign up outside the door so people know it's reserved. What do you want your thing to be called?" And I was like, we hadn't talked about it. Just hadn't talked about it at all. And I was like, we're in Rome. We are Reformed, and this is a church. So let's go with that. Like, we're Rome Reformed Church. And I was going to put it on the sign that Sunday, and then we were going to talk about it and pick a name, right? And we talked about it a little bit later on, and everybody was kind of like, "No, that's good. Let's go with that."
That's a solid
so
name.
We did. Yeah, right? It's where we are. It's who we are, and it's what we do.
It's solid. Like, I love it. I'm like, it's easy. It's like, okay, cool.
That's
and
it.
You're on Broad Street. Like,
I love being on Broad Street.
You got like the prime of the prime of the prime.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. This is, like I said, it's not a church building. It's not even ideal for a church to gather in, but it's in a fantastic place because I get to talk to people all day long on Broad Street about our church and more importantly about our God. So, it's a great, like, we're in the middle of the mission field.
Right. Like, you're not off to the side on a compound where it's like people have to come to you. No, the people are already here for you. Like, you just got to walk out your door and you're there. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's what people, I bump into people on the street out here and in restaurants and different places, and they're like, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a pastor of this little church up the street." And they go, "Oh, yeah, I saw your sign out front. Maybe I'll come check you out one Sunday." I was like, "Yeah, come check us out.
Please.
Every Sunday."
Please. Just give us one chance, and I promise you it's going to be different.
Yeah, it is. It's different. But people that find us are looking for what we're doing here.
Which is totally cool. Like, it is a different experience. Like, it's a culture shock for some people who come from like any other church, because it's you sing psalms, you preach straight from the Bible. You're not storytelling with props and TVs and banners and
bless our hearts.
we were guilty of it. I'm guilty of it because I created all that stuff.
Right, yeah. I remember being asked to preach in a church one time, and they were disappointed that I didn't have like a PowerPoint, which is cool. And there's nothing inherently wrong with having a PowerPoint. It just wasn't on my radar at the time, certainly, and it's not now. We don't do that here either.
Yeah.
That's a resource thing for us at this point. We may at one point put sermon notes up on the screen or whatever. But that's the mindset. It's so technology driven and lights and sound and things, and that's great. That's great. If it helps spread the gospel, like, let's do it. But it better be the gospel.
Yeah, we can't pull some Bethel stuff and throw some glitter in the air.
Oh,
yeah. We can take. I'm gonna take shots.
Do it. That's what we do here.
I ain't that person no more.
Oh, man, it was. I don't know. I was having a conversation about that earlier today. As a matter of fact, about Bethel and Hillsong and all their
problems.
Their
hocus pocus they do.
Problems. Yeah, smoke and mirrors. Bless their hearts.
It works. It gets people in though, but like, do they really love Jesus or do they love the coolness factor? And they're like, yeah, I'm a part of this church.
It's a fantastic atmosphere.
Yeah,
that
it's a club,
right? I was going to say you could get that same atmosphere at like the Tabernacle in Atlanta, or any other concert venue or your favorite band's playing.
But going back, I just thought about this. I was like, oh yeah, it's a club when it's all the big flashy lights. But then like you get some churches that are a country club where it's like you're not welcome if you're not in a 3-piece suit and ready to roll. Yeah, and rolling up like you just played 9 holes right beforehand.
You gotta look good, yeah.
Like they're the country club churches who are like, nah, you're not welcome. We're not gonna change nothing. Yeah, this is how it's been for 100 years. You ain't welcome here. Don't bring new ideas.
Man. That's tough.
So like, church is so wild right now. There's so many variations and like different takes on it. Mm-hmm. There's a million different ways we can go, but I feel like there are some people hitting it out of the park right now, and then there's some who are like, are you sure you want to do that?
Well, it's kind of always been that way, though. I mean, it wasn't always lights and sound, but there's always been people who were doing things that ultimately led others astray instead of pointing them to Jesus.
Right? Like,
so as long as that's been around, Paul warned people against it. If we or even an angel preaches some other gospel, well, like any gospel that's not the gospel is some other gospel. Right. So if it's the gospel of lights and disco ball and like, that's your gospel, that's not the gospel.
The gospel of prosperity, so I can buy 3 jets and ride them off and name them
You've heard this podcast before, haven't you?
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Oh man, that's what they named the planes.
Yeah, that's what he named his planes. Jesse Duplantis.
I would like to give Jesse Duplantis a free jiu-jitsu lesson. I could do that.
I feel like you could. I feel like that's a fair assessment.
I'm no expert, man, but I'm a blue belt. I could help Jesse understand some things.
Right. Oh man.
What I should say is I'd like to point him to scripture that talks about all the things he's doing, but he's not going to listen.
We don't advocate violence at all.
Yeah.
None.
No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Totally on that subject, I still got to get you password so you can watch the Righteous Gemstones.
Oh man, I have to watch at least a few episodes, and then we'll come back and talk about that.
Yes, because it's not exactly like child friendly, so be forewarned. Like there's some swearing, but like the message is there, and it feels like me, you, and Pyle who
pointing
just
fingers
hit the nail on the head making jokes. The whole stuff and money in the walls was called 2 years beforehand.
That's insane. How does your church have enough money that you can stuff some in the wall?
How does $500,000 just go missing in your church and not be like, That's suspicious.
Because somebody's in on it.
Somebody's. There's a whole crew there doing that.
Somebody's getting a cut, and the rest is going into the wall for later use.
In case of emergency.
You should look. This is the kind of place where you find a stash of old money like that.
I wonder if Sherman hid some or something somewhere.
I don't know. They were kind of taken by the time they got here. It wasn't so much leaving. But
was it?
Yeah.
No, this is the Confederates lost gold somewhere, isn't it?
Somewhere.
I thought there was like a whole conspiracy on like Confederate lost gold down here.
There are a ton of cannon barrels buried around because they used to make cannons here in Rome, and when Sherman and his guys came through, as opposed to surrendering the cannons, they chucked them down the wells in all these old houses around town.
What?
That's the story. That's the story when we went to the History Center. That's the story that I got, I guess, the day before. Maybe 2 days before, when I went in and set up the tour.
Because we just got the Nathan Forrest story, and I was like,
we got the Forrest story.
This guy ain't as scary as they made him out to be.
Yeah, all that terrible stuff wasn't really his idea.
No, he just got thrown into it. And
yeah,
like,
they needed a figurehead, and he had a popular name, so they tossed him. These are the things you learn at the Rome Area History Center.
It's a fantastic resource if you
really
want to learn
is.
about the history of Rome.
It really is. Since we're
Love
just
it.
chasing rabbit trails. Yeah, that's one of the places we went on the Peach Ride.
Yes, it is.
But, yeah, good stuff. I don't know. You can learn all kinds of things when you listen to somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Which,
That we don't so many times.
funnily enough, that brings us back to the Peach Ride. We just listen to people. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a whole lot of you talking.
There wasn't, which is for the best, because I'm not super fantastic at it. My conversation is as good as whoever the other person is. But that was cool to just let people talk.
Yeah.
That's what we do here. We talk, but to let somebody else just tell their story, and it's easy to ask somebody about themselves. They don't mind talking about themselves.
No.
I can tell you about me. I'm good at that.
I will say it does feel weird on this side. I'm like, I have to talk and like carry a conversation.
Yeah, you've been able to pop in for like a one-liner, and
I know. I can pop an Alex Jones. They're turning the freaking Brahms game.
I saw that video earlier today, and I thought about you. But it's a little different to sit on this end, and
it is. It's kind of fun. Like the drive over, I was like, I don't know what he's gonna ask me. What am I gonna talk about? What there was like 70,000 rabbit trails in my head. I'm like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna say? What if this happens?
I feel that way before just about every episode still, especially like I've had a couple people on that like I didn't really know. And the first time I actually met them was when they sat down in that chair and we started talking about things. I'm like, man, I hope I can keep this conversation going.
That's this whole time I'm like, oh, this has been easy. Like I was so worried about nothing.
Yeah, well, it always goes that way when you sit down, and my first criteria for determining guests that I want to have on is, am I interested in talking to this person? Like that's it. That's the first criteria. The second is, am I going to have to fight with this person? Like, I don't want to argue with people. There are plenty of podcasts for that. But yeah, if I'm interested in talking to you, that's why I have you on. And then in that spirit, the conversation takes care of itself. So I'm asking you about you and these things that you do, and you would love to talk about you and all this stuff.
I know.
Whoever is sitting in the chair.
It's wild. By the way, speaking of like fighting people, so like if we upgrade to a bigger table, can we get some people who you can argue with?
The Mike
so
Tyson
like they
rule?
can't the Mike Tyson rule, yeah.
Oh man, maybe we were talking about having a famous former pro wrestler on.
That'd be cool.
That was here local.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
We gotta get some. Yeah, but even like the Chris Piles still have cool stories.
Yeah,
like I'm not. Yeah. Like, I'm not the most interesting person in the world. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, but enough people. I mean, you've been
squirrely person.
You've been around for 20-ish episodes now.
Has it? Yeah.
Pretty close. And people have heard your voice, and you've given like positive like input that helped the show, And so that's what people know about you. They know about one line here and there, and Tango is pretty quick with Google or whatever.
I am. It's weird. I don't have a laptop screen or anything. I got an iPad over here that shows us.
Yeah, just digging it up. I knew that people would be interested in like hearing your story, hearing from you, and seeing you, the people that watch video.
I know I'm finally on camera, which means I'm caught. Like they know what I look like now.
I know you can't go out in public anymore.
There's no ski mask hiding. No,
we're not that famous, bro. It's just not. It's just not like that.
It's weird. Like I love media and everything, but I'm like, I don't care to be on camera.
To be on camera,
don't. Yeah. No pictures, please.
I didn't either, man. I was when I grew up as a kid. Like you never would have convinced me that I would be doing this. Same as pastoring a church for that matter. But I had a class in school that we were doing mass media, which is what we called the kind of thing that you do at the time. And I was fired up about learning how to operate the board and the cameras and the microphones and all these things. And then like last week of school, our person who we used to do the announcements at school, like on video, and we'd beam them out to the whole school or whatever. And the last week of school, the person had like exempted their finals and they weren't at school anymore. So they were like, somebody's got to go on camera. And they were like, you're going to do it. And I was petrified. And the first time I did it, I loved it. It was fantastic. And I've really never looked back. So it's been great. Here we are 30 years later, 25 years later.
That's really how I felt. Like, we had a podcast, me, Preston, and John, some guy smoking. And that's where like, I was like, okay, I'll be on camera. And I was like, oh, I gotta lead this thing. Okay, let's turn into that. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this, but also like I like that side too.
Yeah,
I like that side more. But so
every
cool.
now and then,
it's cool to get back into it and have a mic. Like I'm not so awkward that I can't like talk to you and not be weird.
Right? Yeah. Nah, I don't know. Everybody listens to podcasts these days, so. And especially if you've heard, like I'm going to be on a podcast coming up, and so I've been listening to it to kind of get the gist of how it goes and things like that. And I was like, well, that's not so different from other podcasts and ones that I've listened to. So like, it's not such a leap anymore to be on a podcast because you get it. Like it's famous. It's popular enough now
where everybody and their mama has one.
Everybody's like, got one, and everybody's been on one, or you're at least familiar with the concept,
right?
So, yeah, not such a transition anymore.
Joe Rogan blew this thing up.
Joe
Rogan made podcast a thing.
Joe Rogan is the reason that we're sitting here today.
Is he really?
Like I mean, he put podcasting on the map. There were a couple before him, like Adam Curry, I think, is known as like the first ever podcaster. Tom Green had his thing. Which nobody had ever even heard the term podcast then. It wasn't a thing. But then Joe really put it on the map. And then he introduces us to Jamie Vernon, who, when people talk about Tango on Burnham Podcast, they're like, oh, yeah, he's just like young Jamie.
Right.
And, so that's what this model is.
We stole a Rogan model.
We did.
And I'm all for it because it works. It works really well.
We stole the Rogan model, and it's got like a Jocko flavor because all of Jocko's podcasts are military themed, right?
Right.
We're not military themed, but we're themed. All of them are themed, and we talk about things around that theme. Joe just talks about everything.
You have a niche, which totally is it niche or niche?
Yeah, I don't know that either of those are incorrect. You hear it both ways.
Like I know the little shelf in my shower is a niche because
niche or niche. Comment down below
what you think.
Yeah, I don't know how you would articulate that in writing. Somebody smarter than me. That's why we talk and not write, right?
Yeah.
Niche.
English. I'm bad.
If you think it's niche, just type NITCH and we'll go with that. And if it's niche, then you spell it the way that it's spelled.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Be sure to comment.
Fantastic.
Woo. It's a good time to end an episode when we...
No. I mean, we can. I have... This is weird. Like, neither of us know how long we've been going.
We don't, do we?
No, there's normally... I can comment.
I know. I would ask you at one point how we do it on time. But I don't. Here we are, right?
Normally, there's fingers or something that go up warning you, like, "Hey,
yeah, 3 minutes left. Wrap up the dissertation."
Like, I know we got like 380 minutes left on that hard drive, so we're good.
It's only 7:30, so we're in good shape. I don't know. We didn't start until after 6.
Okay, so that's solid. Like,
yeah. So it's been a while. I don't know.
So where do we go next for the hometown? I'm gonna put you on the spot. What do we do next?
Specifically for hometown or for like the Burnham Project as a whole?
Let's touch hometown and then the project.
So the very first peach ride we blew up in Moultrie.
Okay.
And we finished the trip with the bike on a trailer because we just didn't have it. Like the belt thing, we got the belt thing resolved, and like the scooter just wasn't enough. It just didn't make it. So we ended up finishing not from Moultrie because we were okay after, but Valdosta over to the coast. So I would like to go do that stretch again.
Okay.
Specifically, I'd like to go to Folkestone.
Okay.
Which is nowhere. We talked about it earlier. Like
in the swamp.
We went from Folkestone over to Jekyll.
Let's do it.
So I'd like to do that. There are plenty of reasons to go to Jekyll that people are aware of. Folkestone will be the main focus because there's some cool stuff there that a lot of people probably just don't know about.
I didn't even know it was a real place until we started this, and I was like, what is Folkestone, Georgia?
If you're a Georgia Bulldog football fan, you know that the Bailey brothers are from Folkestone. Champ and Boss, and there was a third one. He was younger, I forget, but these guys, like, they were monsters. They played in the NFL and all kinds of stuff. Fantastic athletes. And they've had some other guys from there too, like Dwight Dasher and several other dudes that top talent individuals come out of there. So like you'll know them if you're a Bulldog fan. Otherwise, they're famous for trains. There's
choo-choo trains.
Like choo-choo trains. There's a place there called the Folkestone Funnel. So when you go through South Georgia into North Florida, it's swamp, right? It's just the Okefenokee Swamp is enormous.
Right.
And
giant reptiles that'll eat you.
Good places to put train tracks have roads on them. So there's a way to get into Florida through the swampy part if you go through Folkestone. It's like the way for a train to get into Florida. Ooh. So there's just trains that run through all day, and they have what they call the funnel. Everything is funneled into Folkestone to go into Florida and vice versa. Oh. But they have like an observation deck there with like the Norfolk Southern scanner playing, and you hear Norfolk Southern 619 ETA 6 minutes to Folkestone. And people like get up out of the chairs. There's like a crowd of people in this observation deck, and they get up and they start setting up their cameras. People camp out there waiting on this particular train to come through. And it's like your favorite batter's coming up at the baseball game, and everybody's like, oh yeah, he's going to hit one out. And like people start standing up and they get their cameras out and they watch this train go by. And I thought that sounds super lame.
Like in theory, it sounds super lame, but I'm over here. I'm like,
when I saw it,
I kind of want to go see this because it sounds kind of cool.
It was contagious. You got there and they were like, I was like, what's going on? And they were like, train number 62 is coming. And I was like, oh yeah. And they were like, yeah. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm with it too. But it became this thing, and you're like every 10 minutes or less, even a train comes through. But yeah, people camp out and try to get like the best camera spot and all kinds of stuff. It's wild,
dude.
And then you got the swamp and all kinds of other cool stuff to do there too. But I was like, man, the Folkestone Funnel is really cool.
That mob mentality, psyop gets you.
It does. Because I was like, well, that's cool. Whatever. It's nostalgic that you get to sit here and watch your train. And then you look at the tags on the cars in the parking lot, and they're like Louisiana and Tennessee and Indiana, and people that had come there to see this. Like, y'all don't have trains where you live? Like, no, man, this is the Folkestone Funnel. Like, okay, cool. Let's get fired up about trains. It's awesome. It's cool. But there are towns like that everywhere that have whatever their thing is, you know, that's their thing. That and alligators.
That story.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I want to go to Folkestone.
Okay.
As far as Georgia goes, outside of Georgia, we talked about going destination hometown outside of Georgia, apart from the Peach Ride. I want to go to Hutchinson, Kansas.
Birthplace of Superman.
Birthplace of Superman. Home of the salt mines, where
Which
all
sounds so wicked cool. Like,
That
I'm
sounds
all
cool, right?
for it.
perfect temperature underground and no humidity, and they do things like store original Disney films there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's super awesome
So cool.
stuff. They've got the Blue Dragons football squad, #1 in the country right now, junior college level. What else? They got the Kansas State Fair is there.
They got that. They got the
Cosmosphere.
The Cosmosphere isn't like a aerospace thing?
Yeah, it's the Aerospace Museum. Yeah.
Yes.
They got Sputnik in there, pieces of the Berlin Wall. They got all kinds of stuff.
I didn't know about the Berlin Wall there.
Yeah,
you told me about Sput.
Two giant chunks of the Berlin Wall. There's some kind of NASA space engineer type person who lives there. And I forget which space module it was that landed in the ocean.
One of the Apollos.
Yeah, one of the Apollo, 2 or 3 or whatever it was. Landed in the ocean, and they recovered it. Well, it's been in this salt water, so like it's in bad shape, right? When they're like, we need you to restore this. It's like, that's cool, but you got to leave it here. So they built a museum around this, and now it's this big thing, and they've got like the Apollo 13 command module in there and all this wild stuff that has no business in Hutchinson, Kansas.
In the middle of
this is Smithsonian stuff, you know. But it's a super cool town, and I'd love to go there. I'd like to go to Richwood, West Virginia.
That was your mission trip. That was
Been
your
up there,
first mission trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, me and Chris Harris used to go up there. We've been up there 3 or 4 times. It was the only place I ever went that somebody really discouraged me from approaching somebody with the gospel. And I was like, so what's the deal? And they were like, oh, they'll kill you. And I was like, oh, okay. This was out of town a little bit, outside of town. We were trying to reach, as many people as we could and all that good stuff. And we were like, what about that road up there? Where does that go? And they were like, no.
Don't go there. That's death.
Yeah, they'll kill you. So, okay, cool. So we're not going up there. We'll be like, hey, you guys want to come down? No? Okay, cool. Good deal.
So what happens if that's like your Jonah story? And they're like, you got to go up there, dude.
It might be. I always wonder. I was talking to somebody yesterday about my Jonah. Where is my Nineveh? That's what I think about it. And I go, maybe it's Atlanta, and not a big fan of Atlanta. There's a lot of cool stuff there, man, but Atlanta's an hour away from Atlanta.
It's so dumb.
Why do you all want to live on top of each other like that? Why would you do that?
You live in a giant circle surrounded by roads, and it's just,
yeah.
Nobody knows where the roads are going.
They just go 100 miles an hour. That's all that really matters.
No, I heard it from one of my favorite comedians that was like, look, here's the reason why nobody knows what to do on I-75 anymore and why they've never stopped is because Sherman burnt their original plans when he came through. And so they're kind of just making it up like, yeah, we're going to put this bridge over this road and make another I-75 on top of I-75 and call it a beach pass.
Piling up asphalt down there. Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild place. I don't know, my Nineveh. I would rather it be that tiny little pocket in West Virginia.
I would like for it to be that.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how it's got to be. But it worked out for Jonah in the end, right?
It did.
And preached, and these people repented. Yeah, one day.
I now I'm like, where would my Nineveh be? And I'm not sure if I've hit that point yet.
You hope it never comes to that, right?
Right.
You're like, well, why don't you just start a church in your hometown? And you go, okay, I'll do that.
I'll roll with you on that. Let's roll.
I need to go back to West Virginia regardless, though. I just hadn't been up there in several years. Lots of cool stuff. I hope my boy Donnie Smith is recovering well. He's been up in the hospital for a while up in Nicholas County. So I hope he's doing well. He got home. He's doing a lot better now. He was really sick for a while, but I think they got him straightened out. So
I'm kind of curious of like some of our listeners on like what they think their cool hometown is. Like I'm curious of like where some other people think are like really cool places like Fulton and LJ and Richwood.
Yeah.
Like I want to get some more ideas and hear what people got.
That's a good idea.
I think that's where this whole change my mind thing comes from. I want to do something on the street where we find out some fun stuff.
Yeah, we could do that.
Get to interact.
We could do that. You guys are getting this is a production meeting.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. This is really what it is.
Inside scoop.
Talking about things that we talk about off camera, on camera.
Yeah. No, you guys, you get it. It's all good. But yeah, we can. I like the public question thing. I don't even want to call it the change my mind thing.
No. We got to come up with something cooler.
Yeah, we can do that. We can visit these places and we can shoot documentary film.
Crowder's got his thing. We can make our...
Crowder does. It's not like we're above ripping off other people's stuff either. So
like we said, we're taking the Rogans.
Yeah, it might look a lot like that. I got the name idea came from Jocko because he's just Jocko Podcast. There's no the. You start typing in there's a million of them and you got to flip through them. Nah, but just Burnham Podcast.
Burnham Podcast. I dig it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way to go.
And the Burnham Project.
The Burnham Project.
Overarching.
That's a big super secret thing that we're working on.
It is. It is. You get a little taste of it if you're over on our Substack. I need to update the blog. I haven't in a while, but you get the podcast, you get the blog. All this other stuff to come. It's exciting, man.
Dude, I'm excited about it.
It's one of those things where like you look at your plan and you're like, "Whoa, maybe that's too big." And then you realize like how much fun it's going to be.
It really is. And I'm like, nothing's too big for us.
No.
Nobody's making the rules. Like we make our own rules.
That's it.
This is our path.
It's such a different world now, like this post-COVID world that we live in, where we had that year there where we only had time on our hands, and we got to be so creative, and even ideas that didn't get implemented right away were conceived then, and now they're becoming a thing, and we're doing all this stuff that was based on the amount of free time that we had.
Right. It was kind of like a whole year of the like, you know how the week after Christmas between New Year's and Christmas doesn't exist, like nobody knows what time it is there.
Yeah.
That's how the whole after COVID felt for a little while.
That's a fantastic way to explain that.
It felt like a permanent Christmas between New Year's.
Yeah,
and I was like,
it did.
What's happening? Like I don't know what day it is.
And even before we started our church gathering, there were a few weeks when there was just nothing. And once we got Sunday back, like I could count backwards and be like, okay, it's been 4 days. So it must be Thursday, whatever. But before that, like time didn't matter. It didn't matter when you slept or when you ate. There was nowhere to be and nothing to do. So it didn't, I know people that like got their sleep schedule upside down and they'd go to bed at like 4 o'clock in the morning and sleep till noon.
Okay, so COVID was weird for me because like I remember I was in LA working with Addie on like one of the last projects.
Adidas just for the
one of the last projects out there I ever did. I was out in LA and like we were hearing weird rumblings and I was like, okay, this is weird. I need to get back home. So like as I'm on the plane at LAX and I'm looking around, I see all these people in masks. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I've been out in the mountains of Malibu and nobody's hiding. And I'm like, the dude next to me is wearing a mask. I was like, why is everybody wearing a mask? He's like, have you not heard about COVID? And I was like, I saw it on TikTok. Like, I didn't think I thought it was just the Wu flu from China, whatever. The Wu flu, the Kung flu. So, like, I get on the plane and I'm like, oh, great, we're going to die. What do I need to do? Fly back home. I'm home for like a week or two. Fly back out to Utah. And we're in Bryce Canyon and it's like snowing. It's been snowing for 13 weeks, it feels like.
Yeah.
There's 6 feet of snow. I get down to the bottom of Bryce Canyon and I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm dying. Well, that's when I was like, oh, I think I have COVID.
Oh, no.
I think I have it. Got back home. No, not COVID. Just
corona.
cold and dying.
Oh, man.
But yeah, like after that project, I didn't have a job anymore. I was jobless, and I was like, okay, well, COVID's happening, so the end of the world, cool. I don't have to have a job.
So you quit working for Adidas.
That was like
to get home from California.
February 26th, I think, or something like that was my last day with them.
Huh.
And that was my contract ran out.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, we're going back home, guys.
Yeah. All right.
And so I get back home and there's like a 2-week period of like, I don't know, I'll figure out what to do.
Yeah.
There's virus of doom coming.
Apparently so, right?
And my old boss calls me and he says, "Hey, you want to come back to work?" I was like, "What? You just laid me off. What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, we're doing this thing and we're making masks and the protective face coverings for hospitals and things, and we're 3D printing parts of it, the headband, and putting the acrylic." And I was like, "Dude, you got like 3 other guys who are above me. I'm not your starting QB for laser work." He goes, "Yeah, but like I can't get them, so I'm just gonna need an Alex Smith and not a Pat Mahomes." And I was like, "Alex Smith to the rescue!"
Alex Smith still gets paid, homie. He's doing okay.
So like I started that, and I was like, "I only got 2 weeks off for COVID. Nah, man, that ain't cool." So like I got to keep my schedule, and like we had slimmed down the factory and retooled for something different, and I was like, I don't get to enjoy it. What? It's the end of the world, and I'm still working. Man, what did I do?
Tough stuff.
But gosh, the whole time was fun. Like there were so many weird things that happened, and I was like, "This is
a wild time."
Do you think we'll ever have another time like that?
I want to say I hope not. I hope that there's not some new virus that just terrifies everybody, right? But as an introvert,
I kind of want it to happen.
I kind of enjoyed what life became. I don't think I could have done that for longer than for it really around here was like a 6-month, 8-month kind of thing. And that was about the end of it. But I would take a month or so like that again, I think.
Right.
Without the sickness and, those things. But
traffic was so great. Like, I remember I-75 was
if you had to go
clean.
Anywhere, which there was, like, not many places to go. But there you can still do. Especially in Georgia, we opened back up pretty quick.
Governor Kemp did good.
He did. He did a great job. But so many people chose to stay closed after that traffic was still not bad for a long time.
Right. Like, nationwide, which during COVID, they set the cannonball record from New York to LA. Yeah. And I want to say it was like 23 hours or something ridiculous.
That's fast.
And it was wild because they're like, we'll never be able to do this without COVID because there was nobody on the road. Police didn't care because they're like, nah, there's nobody on the road. So they just ran it New York to LA in like 23 hours.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. And I'm like, this is the Wild West now. There are no rules. Yeah. The only rules are...
I got into gigs, the gig economy at that point, because you're sitting around doing nothing. And I started with one of the dinner delivery services, we'll call it that, the food delivery. And I decided to go try Atlanta one Saturday and just see how much money I could make, because everybody was back to curbside pickup and stuff by then, but they were still ordering it through whatever service. And I crushed it down there. I made so much money. But like, it was wild to just, like The Walking Dead, right?
I was about to say, it was probably like The Walking Dead. Nobody's around.
Yeah, nobody was out. Like, nobody was out. And you were just, you get stuck at a red light sometimes because you couldn't like make the light change. You missed a little bump or whatever. But like, for the most part, you drive wherever you wanted and sit in traffic. The lights worked out perfectly. So it was odd. It was a wild experience to be in the city of millions of people that's known worldwide for its traffic, and just to be able to cruise around in my little Volkswagen. Yeah. Dude, it was weird, man.
Like, I'm still thinking like all the crazy things that have happened over the past like 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, that doesn't feel like it was 4 or 5 years of like.
Well, we got 2 different eras now, right?
We got the pre-COVID and the post-COVID era.
Right. This is the way we used to do things. Like
the before times.
Yeah, like my day job. My day job didn't exist before COVID. Once everybody was like, oh, we can just do this from home. Like, my job got created in 21.
Oh, so you're like a benefit of the post-COVID era.
100%, man. Because, I work from our church now. It's still remotely, but I don't have to go to our... I would have had to have moved to South Carolina to the job that I do. But they started outsourcing. They had some remote working people, but like my job was created to work That's what it was made for. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this is what came out of COVID.
I feel like so many cool things came out of it. Like,
yeah.
If we don't look at the negatives, but that's a whole new world that opened up, was the idea of just working from home. And it's like some of these jobs were worthless in an office. It's like, why do you need an office for that when you can just do it from home?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there are a lot of places now, like it's a thing that big companies are going through right now. They're trying to get people to come back to the office.
Yeah.
And then people are going,
it ain't happening.
I'll quit this job, dude. I'm not going to do that. Everybody's hiring. So they're getting over that. But now these companies are stuck with these skyscrapers.
Yeah.
These buildings in these big cities. And they're like, well, what do we do with this building? And I can't sell it because everybody else is working from home too. They don't want
because nobody wants a giant building with 10,000 people in it.
Right.
No.
And I don't want to sit in traffic and buy lunch from fast food every day.
Like, sorry, that's a pre-COVID, before times issue. That was industrial back then. Like, sorry.
You go to an office and clock in, that's so 2019, right?
That really is like, dude, why are you so far back in time?
Yeah. But if you're going to like work from home, do that. That's fantastic. But especially if you're a single person, you've got to find some social life, right? Like you got to get out of the house sometimes.
Yeah. Which I can credit you having the podcast. Like I've kind of built a nice structure around this now. And I'm like, okay, I have a routine. I know like what's happening, what days, and like what days I'm working on what. Before that, I was like, whatever happens. We gonna roll the dice and see. Now I'm like, nah, we got structure and. Dang it, Danny, you've created it.
You've grown up, right?
You made me grow up.
Well, it was, when you first came on board and we were still kind of going, well, when does he want to record? And can you do Tuesday? And no, let's do Thursday. And we had to nail it down mostly. We're here on a Wednesday tonight. We typically record on Mondays.
Yeah.
But
my bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We're putting one in the can because you're going to be out of town. But it became a problem, right? Because we're not Joe Rogan and Danny Burnham.
Pop up whenever. And I was like,
we got jobs and family and things, and so then we had to kind of nail it down to one night of the week, and with some flexibility. But
kind of became a cool little staple, and it's like, okay, we know where we're gonna be.
Yeah, this is what we're doing on Monday nights. Yeah,
it's really cool, and I love it.
I'm having so much fun. I think everybody ought to do this.
Everybody, yes. Go start a podcast, do something like that. Just build that stuff.
Yeah, I've done whole episodes about this before. It's good stuff, man. It's so much fun. It's easy. This is not a hard thing to do.
No, and I mean, we even did a couple of episodes where it was just you talking to the camera.
Yeah.
Because like, okay, cool. We can't grab anybody. Let's just talk to the camera.
Because there are no rules, right? We do whatever we want.
There are no rules. That's one thing, like, as a child, your parents set the rules, and then when you're an adult, it's like, well, what are the rules? There are none.
There really are.
I make up my own rules. Yeah. I can go to bed whenever I want. Now, when I wake up for work in the morning, I'm gonna struggle,
right,
and be miserable. But it's a consequence of my.
Unless you work some job, you own your own thing, whatever, and you set your own schedule. So maybe you don't wake up until 10 in the morning, and then you go do what you do for work, and that part of the world is new too in terms of making up our own rules, and we get to do a lot of that.
That's the fun of being an adult. You get to figure it out. It's your first go round. It's your only go round. For most people.
Yeah.
There's a select few.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Lazarus got a second go at it.
Lazarus he had a before and after death portions of his life, kind of like we had before and after COVID.
I'm kind of curious about those. 4 days was it?
3.
Was it 3?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious to
third day. We raised him on the third day.
Okay. I'm curious of what it was like. Like, what did he do?
Where was Lazarus?
Where was he? What was he doing?
I don't know, man. I thought about that too because
that made me think, and I was like, I'm gonna pick his brain and see what he thinks.
So did they let Lazarus go to heaven, right, for a couple of days, and then make him leave? You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Like, I don't know if you could talk me into leaving after you let me come in.
Why would you?
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe he was in some limbo, or limbo is not a good way to say it, I guess.
No. And we're not going to use the P word.
Yeah. No, it's not a real thing.
That's not a real place. Sorry.
Made it up like 200 years ago.
Some guy in a fancy hat.
I'm going to have to dive into that now. Where did he go?
Like, what did he do? Like, what? Because surely, like, maybe he did. And he was like, yeah, Jesus is back on earth.
Maybe
so,
he was just unconscious.
It was just a coma.
Yeah, kind of like when you sleep overnight and you like don't remember or don't have any dreams, and you just wake up when the alarm goes off, and you don't really miss anything.
Yeah, I feel like I do that sometimes. Just hit the bed and it's boop, just right back up, and I'm like,
I was that way last night.
What happened, guys?
Yeah. I don't know. We gotta find out where he went. We'll get to ask him one day.
Yeah. There's so many questions I got when I get there.
Where you at in that couple of days? What happened? Fill us in.
Please. Yeah, I want to know that, and then I want to know some other stories.
Oh, man. Yeah. A million questions.
Do you think when we get to heaven, we're going to still have those questions, or like it's just...
I don't know. I think we'll know more. We'll understand a lot of things that we didn't understand. We may still have questions, but like all these concepts that I think we'll understand how God made the planet's orbit, and the moon and the tides. Like, I think we'll have a grasp of that, but I think we'll need to be like, so Daniel, when they threw you in the lion's den, like what was the first thing across your, like I think we'll still have those questions, which will just be cool.
In my head canon, like I really want to have podcasts in heaven so we can talk to some of these people.
So we got the 3 Hebrew boys here with us tonight.
Right.
What was it like in that fire?
How hot really was it?
Yeah, right.
Like I know the guy melted.
Yeah, I think one guy melted, but your hair didn't even burn. So, what are we talking about here?
The fun rabbit. Dude, they're getting to see the fun rabbit trail.
They are. This is it. These are the things we talk about when
we're kind of squirrely individuals at this point.
This is the off-air stuff, the behind the scenes. You might charge you guys on Patreon to even watch this episode.
We still haven't mentioned that. We have a Patreon.
What's our Patreon?
I believe it is Burnham Podcast at patreon.com.
You made it, bro. We'll have to go with that.
Be a ruckus rider, please.
A ruckus rider. We'll take all the ruckus riders we can get. What is a ruckus rider?
That's our top tier Patreon. So we're going to have 2. We'll announce some more, but like that's our top tier where like we're going to shout you guys out and like you want to be a supporter and help us grow because like we want to grow. We want to be able to show you guys more things, and unfortunately we live in an economy world where we got to make some capital, and
we're limited by our resources.
Choices.
Our ideas are unlimited these days, and there are no rules, but there are limitations.
There are
resource-wise.
We have a sandbox that we can play in.
Yeah.
And we got to get some funding going, because like some of these ideas are like we want to go to Richwood, West Virginia. That's going to cost a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
Going out to Hutch, Kansas, going to cost some dollars.
But we've got the doggy bag treats.
Yes,
they're on board with us, and they've got that great discount code Burnham01 at checkout.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll pick up some more sponsors and the Patreon folks. We got some merch coming.
Yes, we do. You got that sneak peek on that.
Yeah, it looks great, man. I'm fired up. It's weird to have my face on a shirt or a sticker or a cup or any of the things that we got.
I was going to say, we don't have any of the stickers on us today.
I'm about giving them all away. I gotta get some more.
I'll put a new order in this week.
That's why I have a producer, right? Because I don't even know where he ordered this stuff from. It just shows up, which is great.
It's in my email. Yeah, just
we'll take it. All good.
We're a partnership at this point.
Oh, we really are.
With your face on it.
God, it's weird. It's weird. Justin Franklin made that for me. And if you saw when you see the Georgia Peach Ride series, you'll meet Justin. But he made that graphic for me in 2018 when we started doing this. And it was weird when he sent it to me. I was like, oh, that's my face. It's not my face, but it is. And then now to see it on like a sticker and a T-shirt. And
right.
It's weird.
I was curious. It's like, I feel weird, and then like we got some cool peach ride stuff coming out too.
We do got some awesome peach ride stuff happening.
It took a minute to get that artwork in. But,
oh man,
so
it's exciting though. I'm fired up. We got a lot of cool stuff going on.
All these cool things are happening, and so like
Yeah,
we just gotta push the ball further and keep
we
chugging
do.
along.
We do, and I don't know. I guess I've got to try not to become a celebrity pastor. That's the battle. The current dichotomy right now is documentary filmmaker versus celebrity pastor. I don't want. That's corny.
I don't think there's any Carl Lentz in you at all.
Oh man, I hope not. I pray against it like all the time.
I never want to be anywhere near that.
No, that's gross to even think about. Yeah, I'm out on that.
No, I'm good. I'll pass.
Yeah, Carl Lentz.
See, shoot. Can we take a potty break real quick?
We can. Yeah, you got the switches over here. We can do whatever.
I'm gonna take a potty break real quick.
All right, bet. Well, and not having them on both ears is like there's a weird like balance thing. I feel like it was kind of squishing this side of my face.
I think I'm just so used to it at this point. With like
maybe so. You know what I'm gonna do?
Switch them. Switch the ear
backwards this whole time anyway.
See, now you're doing what I'm doing.
Switch them out. You asked me yesterday which of my ears was dominant. I guess we have a dominant ear.
We have figured it out. It's your left ear.
It's my left ear. After it only took me an hour and 48 minutes to realize that it was not my right ear.
It's okay. While you were in the bathroom, I was talking to future me about editing. We're going to cut all that out.
Talking to future me. That's cool, right? I get to talk to future me.
Right? Like,
yeah, we talk about that with podcasting, and it's on the internet forever, right? So I like to say things like, so if you're listening to this in the year 2045, you'll understand that this was Tango's humble beginnings, and now that he's a Hollywood producer with $1 gajillion in a Lamborghini, like this is where he all started.
And I'm hiding it all in the walls.
Right. In the walls of your mansion in Kingston, Georgia.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Good stuff. I don't know. I couldn't. There's a Ferrari. I know a guy with a Ferrari for sale right now if you're interested.
Man.
He only wants $56,000. He's got some aftermarket seats and wheels. I mean,
what?
Yeah.
Is this the same guy we know? Like, I know this guy?
No, different guy.
This is a different guy. Yeah. This ain't the guy who's got the mountain.
Lights huge piles of cash on fire. No, different guy.
Yeah. The guy who. Yeah.
Yeah. No, different guy, different Ferrari.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't afford it. So
I can't either.
We're looking for a car again for Ayla. Probably not going to be the Ferrari.
I got a 2016 Honda Civic.
There you go. Yeah.
Because I like to be cheap on gas.
Yeah. And I don't need, brother Joel, Smiley O'Reilly has his, what is it, F450.
Yeah, we looked it up. It's one of those real fancy ones that's like nobody else has. I
can't be that guy. Like we were talking about just a second ago, me avoiding being a celebrity pastor. Right. I think I'm stuck driving a 2004 Ford Expedition for the rest of my life.
If I ever hit that much money, I think the first thing we're doing is we're buying a plane.
Like we were talking about the plane the other day,
yeah.
Right?
Like that's one of the first.
Not like a Creflo Dollar plane.
No. We're not talking a private jet. Like we're talking bush plane from Alaska that hauls gear that we can just load up and fly somewhere. Yeah. Like that's one of the first things.
A work plane.
A work plane. That's how we're gonna ride it off.
Don't have to be like, this plane belongs to the church. It doesn't belong to me.
It was used in a sermon series one time. We mentioned it.
So cool.
And it's a write-off.
Those guys, like, Bible tells us we have to love our enemies. Like, those people are our enemies, right? They're enemies of God because they're teaching this false gospel. Like, it's really hard to love them, though.
I can love him from afar. And,
I know.
Tell him he's doing bad things, but it's really hard.
It's tough. They make it tough.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Dude, we're approaching 2 hours. That's wild.
We are approaching 2 hours. We're probably a couple of minutes short of 2 hours right now after you cut out the bathroom break time. And then talking to future self. I don't know. You got somewhere to be?
No, I'm good.
It's 10 after 8.
Depends how far you want to go with it.
I don't know. We got a few more minutes.
Okay.
We can ride out. Yeah. So Man, we talk about a ton of stuff.
Yeah, we have
a ton of stuff. But there's more to do, right?
There's always going to be more to do, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes to me, that's what makes it feel worth it. And I'm like, there's never not going to be something cool to do.
Well, we started listing ideas for documentary films, and we sort of noticed as we went along in this new format of the Georgia Peach Ride that we had this same conversation. That place could be its own whole episode. It could be its own 2-hour documentary.
Right.
And to think about all those places, and then those are just the handful of places we went to in one town and in one state. But it's limitless. It really is limitless.
There really is no limit, and it's up to us, like how many stories we want to tell and what people want to listen to. And that's kind of where it's like, okay. Like,
well, that's the thing, right? Like, what do people want to know? It's cool to tell stories about people, but what do people also, so there's that balance there.
Right, like History Channel has 10,000 things, and there's some things that are hit or miss.
Right, yeah. So do you want to make a film for the sake of like self-fulfillment, or do you want to make a film that people are going to watch? Maybe you can do both.
That people are going to love, but never in my wildest imagination did I think people would want to see a pawn store.
Right.
Like, how did those guys become celebrities? It's a pawn shop.
You got the pawn shop people. You got the repo men with the tow trucks. You got a Dog the Bounty Hunter, So,
like, you think of all those and you're like, surely we can come up with some better stories than any of those. Like, it's a cool pawn shop. Been there, done that.
Yeah. Cool
got
stuff.
the t-shirt, don't want to go back.
Right. I've never been there before. Drew's been. He said he was disappointed by how small it was.
It really
is.
You
actually get in there because you think it's this big thing on TV.
It's not. Now, I will say the restaurant right next door, pretty cool.
Okay, cool.
It's a dope barbecue restaurant.
All right. Maybe we'll go there and do a documentary about the barbecue place next to the Pawn Stars.
What about following a barbecue team? I know we've talked about it. I really want to.
I'm in. We know a barbecue team, right?
I think we know a couple.
Okay.
Maybe there's some listeners who may want to be like, hey, we'll let you follow us because competition is cool. Which I think we're doing a chili cook-off here in Rome coming up.
Some guy smoking our?
No. We haven't reunited yet.
Okay.
The Reloaded tour hasn't started.
The Reloaded. So when is the chili cook-off? It's a thing. We have it every year, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got to be.
We also have our barbecue tournament, and it was recently.
Yeah.
I think the chili cook-off is coming up next month.
Fiddlin' Fest is coming up next month, too.
Fiddlin' Fest?
Fiddlin' Fest. It's a music festival we have right here on Broad Street.
I saw the signs for it. What is Fiddlin' Fest?
It is a music festival that we have here on Broad Street.
That's about it.
It's like a bluegrass, like old time type music.
I'm down.
Banjos and flat picking. They have a couple of stages up in different places where they have live music. They have busking, people out busking. They incorporate a car show into it.
So we turn into mini Nashville?
Yeah, for a little period of time we do.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
The really cool one is the Bear on the Square. As far as music festivals go, the Bear on the Square is in Dahlonega. Oh. And it's a mountain music festival, and it is some of the, like, people you never heard of. Just some guy who is like a carpenter or a lawyer or something that also plays the mandolin, and he gets together with other people on the street, and they just jam. They block off the town square. And it's some of the best music you've ever heard in your life.
I feel like we're going to have to make this trip with a Mr. Craddock.
Yes. Andy Craddock, if you're listening to this.
I'm going to send it to him and be like, hey, dude.
We got to get Andy
watch
on
the end of the video.
Yeah.
Watch the end of the podcast because we're going to talk about you.
Yeah.
And try and get you to go.
We need to go. Andy's in LJ, right?
No. He's close to Cartersville. He's somewhere in there.
Okay. I was thinking LJ, Jasper area.
Maybe Jasper.
Maybe. Not far.
Sure.
Not far.
We're totally not tell him where this cat lives.
I know, right? We're just spilling the beans.
Andy
lives in Noonanville, Ton. Yeah, when you get Andy on, he goes way back with my dad, and then you know him, and I've bumped into him in Schroeder's, I don't know, 6 months ago or maybe less. he comes up and he introduces himself and he's like, "Hey, I know you and I know your dad." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Dude, your dad knows everybody though.
My dad knows everybody.
I feel like Schroeder's is like a happening place, which, by the way, you took me to Schroeder's for my first time ever in my life.
You never been there before?
No.
Fantastic, man.
So
fantastic.
And I'm like, this place is hopping. This is legit.
It is. It's a great, like, the atmosphere is unbeatable. And it's not like wild or insane or anything.
No, it's just cool.
It is. It's cool. There's a little bit of a hippie vibe going, but it's like people's grandmothers. Like, I sat next to like 9 grandmothers the other day who were having their book club meeting or something while they ate, at Schroeder's. And there's like, some really young people sitting next to me on the other side, and there's some like construction working type dudes, and then there's some guys in suits, and it's just everybody in one place. And
so what you're saying is Schroeder's is kind of like how church should be, and everyone is welcome.
What I'm gonna have to do? I've done episodes before about how jiu-jitsu, like the community, like I feel like I wish church would be more like the jiu-jitsu community, or how it could be more like. We're going to do one about Schroeder's too. Like Drew was talking about with football the other night, right? And the football team, and you all come together. But I don't know what makes Schroeder's different, because we pay to go in there and they give us food. So like, I guess food is something you bond over.
Right.
Something you have in common. You've all got to eat. We're talking about football and jiu-jitsu, where like you're bonding over like
violence,
struggle. Yeah. Like actual struggle and violence.
Right.
And, yeah.
But I mean, that's what church is, breaking bread. That's what going to a restaurant is. You're breaking bread, drinking wine, doing.
Yeah. If you want to get tight with somebody, you eat a meal with them.
You learn a lot.
You do. And I don't know. It's, we can't eat on a podcast. That'd be terrible.
No, dude, that's some ASMR stuff that like you have to pay extra for.
I don't know. Listen to me eat these ribs. Like,
Make the wild noises.
I'm out on that. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there was a couple of guys on there, and one of them was eating a bag of chips at one point, and I was like, "Oh, dude, it was so bad." The content was interesting. Like I was in, and then Buddy pulls out this bag of chips and was like, rips them open. Stop! I don't want to hear that.
Oh my God! Why are you doing that?
It was like their first or second, maybe their third episode. Like it was still a pretty new thing.
Where's your producer telling you don't do that?
I don't know. I think he was trying to demonstrate how laid back they were.
I got you.
And like we're just eating potato chips on the air. I'm like, bro, I can't hear the other guy talking because you're munching. Like, mute your mic, whatever.
We'll get cough buttons or something.
Got to. That's our next investment is the cough button. But otherwise, like I think we could do a podcast about food.
Just breaking bread.
Means. Yeah. Maybe with a boom mic. And not like
so it's not like
mics.
All ASMR and
yeah. I mean, Anthony Bourdain ate in his videos, but I guess there was voiceover there.
Yeah. Which we learned how to do voiceover this past.
We did a ton of voiceover stuff. It was exciting, man.
It is, dude. I'm so excited for the future.
This is coming out September 27th. Georgia Peach Ride, destination hometown. And then a bunch of stuff to come.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like 24 is the year that we're going to hit some strides.
I hope so.
I want to.
We're just trying to be consistent right now, man. But as far as, professional life goes,
right.
24 is as good a year as any.
Right.
So we'll see. There's exciting stuff, though. Places to go, people to talk to. A list that never ends.
But it's a fun list.
It is. It's great.
I think when it stops being fun, I think that'll be the day we're done.
Well, that's
when
what
we're
Rogan always says, right? They're like, how long are you going to do this? And he's like, when I stop enjoying it,
Yeah.
It's fun. We're just not getting into it good. This is episode 124, 25 of Burnham Podcast. And I feel like I'm say this, figuring it out.
Like
kind of getting a picture of what I want and how we all work together, and so we're hitting strides.
Sometimes you start off running, sometimes you start off crawling, and then you figure out how to run, and it's like, okay.
Well, we had to do a bunch of things wrong. Like I had to learn a bunch. I think I look back at like episode 2 now, and it hurts me to listen to it because it was so bad. And I thought it was so cool. I was so stoked about episode 2. I was fired up about episode 1, and it disappeared. Yeah, that's a whole different story for a different time. But the early episodes, I would be so excited about all of them and checking the metrics every 10 minutes.
And now we're
I look back now and I go, ooh, that was bad.
But like that's one of those things. Like one of the best lessons I ever learned was like I can read all the things in books, watch all the videos.
Yeah.
But my greatest tool ever has been finding out where I make mistakes. And I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I'm a Thomas Edison this thing. I learned 99 ways how to not make a light bulb.
Yeah.
But by golly, George, I figured it out.
Got it. We're rolling. Yeah, yeah.
We're compounding on that. It's like, okay, we figured out we like this. We don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting there.
It's like the whole table. At one point, we were sideways. And now it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Now this is it. And I'm like, okay, I feel this. We're almost to the Mike Tyson table.
We're getting there. We got a bigger table in case we bring Iron Mike in one day. Dude. Or the Enforcer, as it were.
No, you've had somebody already who's built like an Enforcer.
Oh, man, I've had some dudes on here.
Yeah, you have.
There's been some scrappers here.
Who's the guy? I can't think of him now. He's going to beat me up.
Are you talking about Jason?
Nope.
Are you talking about Sam Trailer?
No.
Who have we had on?
We had him on twice. We didn't film an episode. It was
Trip.
Trip
Durden. Trip's a
Trip
monster.
Durden is a monster.
Yeah, Trip's gigantic. A purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, college football, and lacrosse player.
Yeah. See, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching him come in and sit down, and I was like, "Oh, he ain't that big." And then he stood up beside you, and I was like, "Oh snap!"
Oh, Trip's he's a whole goon. He's an entire goon.
You throw that dude anywhere, and he's gonna just wreck.
Great guy though, super guy. He was when we had the smaller table. This is a bigger table than it was.
Yes, we had the tiny table.
We've upgraded since then, even. But
the tiny table's my work table.
Yeah, but I don't know. Trip's not the kind of guy that's just going to come unwound, though.
No.
I mean, we're talking about Mike Tyson, right?
Right.
Bless his heart. He's mellowed in his old age, but, a bigger table sometimes is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
But a bigger table has meant, we've upgraded the table since we've been here. That was like a step. So we had 3 guests on at one point.
Yeah, we did.
That's a big deal. So that was kind of a pivotal moment in the history of Burnham Podcast.
Was 3 guests at once?
3 guests at once with a bigger table and more microphones. And
I'm just so happy I have all the gear for this because I'm like, I have yet to have to purchase anything new, really.
Me too. I went through several different sets of plug and play USB microphones, but here we are now.
We're to real mics. You got a Shure mic.
I do have a Shure mic. It's good stuff, but God is good. He has taken care of us and it's been blessing our efforts, man.
He has, and it's been a fun ride, and I hope it continues.
Oh, it's going to. We're just getting started, dude. Just getting started. But I think this is as good a place as any to jump off. We're well over 2 hours now.
Ooh, I get to hold the record, maybe?
Yeah, this is the longest episode I think we've ever done. I want to say 152 was the longest before that.
Holy snap, crackle, and crunch.
Yeah, we're well over 2 hours now.
Or the stolen line of Danny Burnham, Holy Moses Malone.
Holy Moses Malone.
That I've turned into Holy Post Moses Malone. But man,
I have to Google. I guess you modernized it.
I did. I did that. I'm a millennial.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But dude, thank you so much for having me come on this side.
Thank you for being on this side, man. We talked about doing this for a while, and now we're here and.
Jump back over to my other side.
Yeah, the Tango episode has been a thing. That's where we're going to jump off. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. We love you. See you next time. Thank you for watching Burnham Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.